your daydream. Don't forget to breathe. Who you wanna be is only up to you.
Hi, welcome back to Voice of Aisha. Today is my very first episode. I'm so excited. So today I'm gonna be talking a little bit about self-identity and like the process of figuring out who you are. But before I do that, I actually have a quote. I have my quote for today, which I hope you guys are able to relate to. So this is what the quote says. It says, "You remake yourself as you grow. And as the world changes, your identity doesn't get found, it emerges." And it's so amazing that I actually found this quote because it ties in perfectly with what I want to talk to you guys about today. One of the biggest questions that everyone asks, even when you go to church or you're in school and you're in the community, is who am I and what is my purpose? I find that it's really hard sometimes for us to figure that out in a sentence or try to put that together in a sentence, you know what I mean? Because your life and you're not defined, you can never be defined by just one sentence. And as you get older and like as you go on your journey of life and you figure out who you are, you come into your own. So a little backdrop, I went to school, I came to Canada when I was 14, and one of the things that I realized is I came from Ghana, okay, and Ghana is very different from Canada, of course, but one of the things that I learned was when I first arrived in Canada was that the way they did things was so different from the way we did things back home, and I became hesitant in terms of like having conversations with people. I sort of silenced myself because I had a very thick Ghanaian accent, and it was one of those ones that people were always, people were making fun of it. Even teachers sometimes made fun of it. Not necessarily at my accent, but like the fact that I came from Africa. So that really put a damper on my self-esteem and like who I was and like who I was trying to figure out I was. But then there was one thing that always kept repeating in my mind every single time, and there was just something that my dad actually told me when I was leaving Ghana, and he said, "Never forget where you come from. Do not ever forget your roots." So it sort of propelled me to figure out who it is that I actually am. And most of the time it's you're trying to find the center between your Ghanaian heritage and your Canadian self, because it's two different cultures, right? So essentially throughout my process and throughout my life here in Canada, I made certain decisions, and it brought me through, and it took me through different avenues. But one thing that I always recalled, and one thing that I was able to relate to, was that I needed to figure out who I was for myself. And the process of doing that alone is exhausting, because you have to keep asking yourself, who am I? What is my purpose? Who am I? What is my purpose? But one thing that I want everyone to realize, and one thing that I want you out there to realize, is this: that you do have a story. We all have stories, right? And that it's in those stories that we figure out who we are, and it's in those stories that we're able to grasp a hold of our passion, our purpose, and like all of that stuff. The reason why I actually personally started working with girls was because I was in a horrible relationship. Everything in that relationship was based on my own choices and my own decisions, but I realized that I gave this person so much power over me, and I gave this person the free reign over my life, and I didn't really stop to think what it is that I actually wanted. And that experience propelled me to, I said to myself, I do not want any other girl to go through the things that I went through with this relationship. I was 17, and the guy that I was seeing at that time was 6 years older than me. And around that time, and in the Ghanaian community, that was taboo and that was frowned upon. So it was just a lot of isolation, and it was just a lot of, I wasn't myself. I was becoming someone that someone else told me to be. I was allowing someone else to control me. I was allowing someone else to decide for me what I wanted for my life. And I learned a lot of lessons in that relationship, but it also brought me to where I am now. And one of the things, as time goes on and as this series continues, of course, I'm gonna get the opportunity to share more of my story. But in terms of self-identity and like figuring out who you are, it's always in your stories and it's always in your lowest of lows, right? So always recognize the little things that are happening in your lives. The moments when you're asking yourself, why me? Or the moments when you're asking God, why me? Why does it have to be me? The question is, why can't it be you? Because if you're able to endure and if you're able to go through that, someone else out there will be able to benefit from your story. Today I'm able to speak to girls and I'm able to share what I've been through, and they're able to come to me when they have an issue or they have questions because they know that I've been there and I availed myself for them to actually ask me that question, right? So figuring out who you are is key. Identifying with who you are is key. And I mean identity in all sense, like, you know, identity comes in all shapes and in all forms and all of that stuff, but I really want you to think beyond the physical and like really dig deep down within yourself and ask yourself, who am I and what is my purpose? Who am I and what is my purpose? Who am I and what is my purpose? The more you ask yourself that question, the more you get in tune with what is within you, you know. So it's been amazing. I have lots more to share, of course, and especially even on the topic of self-identity and self-esteem and self-love. There's a lot of things that has to go on, but one thing that I want to leave you ladies with, and guys, whoever it is watching, one thing that I want to leave you with is this, that it all comes down to you, right? You're able to put out into the world the things that you've developed within yourself. You're able to love others when you fully understood yourself and you've loved yourself, you know. So please do take the time out to figure that out. Take the time out to ask yourself this question, write it down. Who am I and what is my purpose? And the answers will come to you. It may not come to you like a bright light, you know, thing, but it will most definitely come to you. And do not oversee or do not forsake the little beginnings, and do not look over the things that are happening in your life now, because as hard as it may be, as sometimes it will get hard, but know that in the end, you know, you're gonna emerge and you're gonna be able to share that story. So thank you guys so very much for tuning into today's segment on self-identity. I really do hope that you're able to join me next week. Again, it's Aisha Addo. Be sure to subscribe, and also I want to hear your story. I want to hear how you got to the place that you're at now. I want to know how you discovered who you are. I want to know your process of discovering who you are. So leave all of that in the comments below. Be sure to make your voice heard. You know, don't be silenced by everything that's going on around you. Be sure to focus in on yourself and know that I love you. God bless, and have a beautiful day. Thank you.